So now is the time for you to get the entrepreneurial freedom you wanted when you hung your own shingle.
Welcome to another episode of the Office Altering Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com.
All right, so step one, here's a little exercise for you all. Get clear on what our definition of growth is in each area. Personally, in our own individual roles, as departments, possibly, depending on the size of your practice areas. Also for your attorney, what their definition of growth is. And it can't just be about money. My recommendation is you add this to your weekly stakeholders meeting and just how are we doing with our growth plan in all areas. Now, this is very different than your project focuser, very different than your quarterly strategic rocks, or if you call it strategic roadmap, whatever terminology resonates with you. But you want to consistently be measuring the things that are not always obvious. I am now, implementing a annual maintenance program. I have now replaced the attorney. They're no longer doing the sales consultations. I'm stepping into it. Maybe you're handling half of the meeting. The attorney was typically an hour for each one of those meetings, and we find a way to streamline that and introduce paralegal or client services part of the process. We've now made the addition and the leap of hiring an offshore or onshore or outsource, whatever terminology, marketing coordinator, intake coordinator, even if they're 4 hours a week, that have taken off this one activity off my place and what I am now leveling up into. So get clear and measure every single week in that. Sometimes we take a slide back. Sometimes we have to fire people. Sometimes people self-select out. Sometimes our revenue is going to take a hit. But the long game from that is massive. And the fact that we are all getting freedom. That's what everybody's looking for. We're so stressed out. There's not enough time. We're overwhelmed. We're short-staffed. Things of that nature. It is not obvious. It will never be obvious for you, and it'll never be good enough. There is always going to be a blow up and a breakdown within your law firm when we are growing. But it's controlled growth, and it's growth that we are paying attention to so we can get these booster shots of wins. So we're not always looking at the doom and gloom. We're looking at the progress, not measuring from a place of perfection. So look, growth is not always just in the numbers. It's not in the number of leads and conversions, sales. Stop comparing yourself to the people in these Facebook groups or what have you. Get really clear on what your definition of growth is. You're no longer working nights and weekends. You're taking a vacation. You're no longer having to recheck everyone's work because you have workflows and systems. You're no longer responsible for having a secret spreadsheet to double check and triple check everyone because a click of a button, your client service coordinator is spitting out the numbers, running the weekly meetings. You're no longer having to prepare for them, manage them, coming in with a ton of frustration. Maybe you are investing in your growth and you're not seeing the results right away. But guess what? You were spending all this money with a previous marketing agency and you didn't know any of your conversions rate. You didn't have any ROI or metrics. Now we have metrics and maybe we don't like the number. How is that not a definition of growth? We have metrics, we have reporting, we have analytics, and they're not dependent on you. And now you have a marketing coordinator that's managing, leading, and facilitating that. You might not like the numbers you're seeing. That doesn't mean you're not growing. It means that you are now asking powerful questions that you weren't before. And they're not just dependent on you as a visionary and the entrepreneur. You have a team, they're stepping up and leading, they're invested, And now they're asking you even powerful questions that you had never asked each other before. That is growth. And if you continue to look at the growth in your people, in your process, in your entrepreneurial freedom, that will get you ultimately to the number that you're striving for. But that cannot be the end game. It has to be looking at all the process improvement, people improvement, production improvement along the way, and the money will come. Because you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it twice. Money is energy. And the energy that if you're no longer bringing frustration and blow-ups and disappointment and aggravation in the room because you have faith in your people, faith in your process, and faith in the plan that you are all aligned on, that will impact how you get to money. And getting to money when you're bloody and bruised and exhausted, is the money worth it? If that's your definition of growth, you're not going to be able to maintain and sustain that, and it's always going to be dependent on you. So now is the time for you to get the entrepreneurial freedom you wanted when you hung your own shingle. Now is the opportunity for you to be able to step up and lead as an employee when you start asking powerful questions, or when your attorney is freaking out because their only measuring stick of growth is money, and you over-communicate with them in your daily progress reports, your daily huddle, and your weekly stakeholder tracking. This is where we were, here's where we are, and here's where you've been replaced, and here's where we're leveling up. So, if you're feeling like you're not growing fast enough, if you're a team member and you feel like alls we talk about growth and we are growing fast enough, and you feel like we're not aligned on this definition and what it means and how we're getting there and what's going to fill us personally and professionally and satisfy us, reach out to us. Let's talk about who in your firm should be in Law Firm Admin Bootcamp to start leading this, managing this, defining it, so they can help calm you down, attorney, when you freak out and you think we're not growing because the only thing you're looking at is the bank account.